All right, Mike Rossi, a way too early WrestleMania match preview here on the screen, live on YouTube, Friday night after SmackDown. We are here to do Roman Reigns, Seth Rollins, and CM Punk for WrestleMania. First of all, Mike, how you doing?
Doing well, man. How you doing?
Good. 2 weeks out, 15 days from now, we'll be watching the main event of WrestleMania. These three guys, out of 10, how excited are you for it?
I think I'm about 8. I think the match will be very good. I don't like triple threat matches and main events that don't feel like they have stakes. I mean, I don't feel like anybody that loses this match is going to be dropped like down the card or anything, right? And they can all conceivably be in the mix for whatever they want coming out of this show regardless. So I wish there was like a title shot on the line or just something to kind of put a little bit of teeth into this one. So I think that's what keeps it as like an 8, because I think it has a ceiling that it might not have otherwise.
No doubt. All right, we're live for the first time ever for a match preview. First of all, what do you think of this background we got here? We got my very Vegas theme wise, by the way. I got my bag on this one.
I like it. Yeah, I definitely like it.
No shit. The colors were very like, there's a lot going on with these WrestleMania 41 graphics. So I just went silver and black with the background and let the colors do the work for itself. Learned a lot in my year of graphic designs. All right. So we'll see at the end of this preview if we're excited for the triple threat, but I agree with the same sentiment as you, as if this was Roman versus Punk, it would be fantastic. If it was Roman versus Seth, it would be pretty cool. And if it was Seth versus Punk, I'd accept it, right? So, but as a triple threat with no real stakes other than suspense and melodrama, what's the point, right? I am 100% with you there. But this is kind of where we're at, Mike. This could go all the way back till 2013. 2012 Survivor Series, where CM Punk storyline wise brought in the Shield to protect his WWE title. Of course, Dean Ambrose is now Jon Moxley and he's not available. So kind of fitting for CM Punk to have his first WrestleMania match against the guys he kind of brought to the WWE 10 years ago, right? So pretty cool and pretty fitting in a way as well. We have some sub stories within the three-way, of course. We have Seth Rollins and Roman Reigns in a forever feud. And I don't think it's ready to culminate, of course. But I think if they wanted to culminate it, it would have been a WrestleMania main event this year. But I don't think it's calling for it. So perhaps that's why it's a three-way. And then we have CM Punk and Seth Rollins for forever heat. Shit, dating back to 2019 for the 2020 WrestleMania, where CM Punk was working for Fox, right? You can date back to then for CM Punk getting reached out to by Seth Rollins to have a WrestleMania match. So there's always Seth Rollins kind of little brothering CM Punk, trying to bring him back, nudge him, and so on and so forth. And kind of Punk never really having that underlining respect within the feud. And then, in my opinion, is the money feud here. Roman Reigns and CM Punk. I think that's the money feud, and I think that's what they should have done. But, they're not. So we're going to kind of have to deal with it and go with it. What do you think of these sub-feuds within the feud? Three-way feud.
I mean, going Seth and Punk, like, their feud feels so real. And it always has. Like, ever since Punk came back, like, Rollins doesn't like him because he, shit in his company for so long when he left it. Punk's just like, whatever, man. Like, you were always cool. I was always cool to you when I helped train you and all that fun shit. Like, you're not a problem, whatever. So I like how that feels. And it always has felt genuine and real between those two. And they have kind of a feud that, they did their first 2 matches on Netflix. But that didn't take away from those matches either. And it also didn't have a conclusive ending to it in the cage, so they can still go back to it somewhere down the road. So that being the match of these 3 guys, like the singles match of these 3 guys that they did the most recently, I feel like the rest of it feels fresh. Like Seth and Roman, it's been quite a few years. What was that Rumble, 2022?
2022, St. Louis.
So it's been a good 3 years since they've done that in a singles match, and that was a DQ finish too. Punk and Roman, there's house show matches, right? That's pretty much it for singles between those two. There might have been one on a Raw or something back in the day, but they're all fresh. And doing this triple threat shouldn't take away from if you ever decide to do these guys as singles again down the road. But the interesting part to me of everything being intertwined is what's going to actually kind of make this match very fun to watch on the night of the event. I don't think you're going to go into the show knowing definitively who's going to win this match, right? Mm-hmm. Betting odds will be tight. There'll be really no way to pull you one way or the other because the winner of this match isn't necessarily who's the best, right? It's who they're going to have the closest knit Mania, post-Mania feud for, right? So it's going to be interesting how that goes. And I think you're in a spot where this can be the culmination of a feud for some of the feuds within the match, but also the beginning of the feud for some of the other ones.
It could be a fork in the road for another one or a bypass for another one. But I don't know. I'm just sour on it, even though I suspect it to be really good and fantastic. I trust them to go out there and, really kill it and go with it. All right, Paul Heyman here. The secret was revealed about a half hour in real time, Mike, that Paul Heyman is going to do his favor. And his favor is to accompany CM Punk to the ring at WrestleMania in the main event. They did a nice backstory saying, well, in Louisville, Kentucky, you were there for me. They told you to fire me, and you didn't. You stuck up for me. And you saw me as a potential WrestleMania main eventer that day, and so on and so forth. And then in Big Show's bus, they're talking about Extreme Rules, right, where the Punk is getting pitched to win the ECW title in December, but Vince has to go with Lashley, and it's Van Dam, Big Show, Punk, and Heyman after Heyman just fucking quits. And Heyman says, well, I'm leaving for now, but when it's time for you to go to WrestleMania and main event WrestleMania, I will be your manager, and you're going to force them to bring me back. And Punk, had another dig at Vince, saying, well, they're not here anymore, so I'm bringing you back, and you're going to be my manager at WrestleMania in the main event. And Heyman already said that he is going to agree to it, right? But he didn't say it in front of Roman Reigns. Actually, Roman Reigns had a really, really good performance tonight. First time that he seemed like he was checked in kind of a long time. He's been skating by on these European tours. He's been skating by for a little bit. Tonight, character-wise, he was invested. Tonight, you got Bloodline Roman Reigns, where he was like, all right, there's meat on this story. I'm excited to go to work and kind of perform. And you could see that in his work today. So he says, all right, wise man, I saved you from obscurity. I saved you from irrelevancy. I brought you back to the WWE. You're talking about coming back for CM Punk. I brought you back. You've been here. We've been on top for years. You're riding my coattails. So he's kind of, honestly, low-key belittling Paul Heyman the whole time, even though that's what he kind of does. But he's like, tell him that you're sticking with me. I'm Roman Reigns, right? So the arrogance, the unawareness is on point. He's fantastic. He's blinded, right? And I perhaps think that's going to play into the finish, but we'll get to that. And then you have Seth Rollins looking like a cuck in the cuck chair in the corner of the ring, just kind of chilling, doing his thing, laughing at all this, and just knowing Roman Reigns is out of his game because he knows Roman Reigns better than anyone in this company. He knows Roman is not going to be with Paul Heyman at WrestleMania, and he knows Roman Reigns is going to be vulnerable, and that means he only has to figure about CM Punk. So, Mike, did you catch that final segment? What'd you think of it? And do you think that we're going to have like a shared managerial role from Heyman, or do you think he's going to be strictly with CM Punk?
So that's kind of the weirdness factor of this, right? Like, yeah, if he walks one guy to the ring, he's still able to help both of them in the match. So that's where it's kind of I understand the sentiment of the favor being this, and I understand why it's kind of like really cool and like storyline and going back to that segment they had on Raw however many years ago when he kind of prophesized this, right?
Yeah.
But I feel like that fits just kind of like a niche audience that I don't really think that was like the necessary way to go with this. But what I found the most interesting about this segment in particular is I've kind of been my biggest thing with this match is it's like 3 baby faces, right? Or tweener type baby faces, right? Who was going to emerge as the heel during this segment? And you could make a case that Punk was kind of heelish by taking him away from Roman. And then you could see that Roman was kind of heelish by like talking down to Paul. But Roman was just kind of like heartbroken by it. You know what I mean? You could kind of see that he was trying to laugh it off, thinking that there was no way that it was going to happen. Rollins was very much in the cuck chair during this segment, but I think that he did a good job by laughing about it because he kind of like has been telling Roman, you've been letting this guy escape by and now he's screwing you over. And I told you so.
Yep.
And it just, he played the role well, considering he looked like a goof, but he always looks like a goof. So it kind of fits right. So all in all, I like that part of it because it keeps the mystique out there. Like, we obviously expect Heyman to end up with one of these 3 guys coming out of the show, right? And fully with them and probably not tied to anybody else. But who will it be? This doesn't change that at all for me. It just kind of, I think, puts a little bit more meat on the bone of the Reigns Punk story, because obviously the other 2 story have been played out on TV for so long. They needed to put something into the Reigns Punk side of it more than just Roman got eliminated by Punk in the Rumble, you know?
All right. Off the cuff question, but very topical here. All right. You could only have one one-on-one match between these guys. Who you going with?
Punk and Reigns.
All right. Yeah. Same sentiment here. All right. So it feels like the biggest match. And I do kind of a little bit hate that it takes away, even though we've seen it on Raw, but 2014, right? Like, what are we doing? It takes away from a big money match to add for Seth in here. But we're over that. I keep bringing it up, but we're over it. We're moving past it. All right. Let's talk Heyman, right? You said that Heyman is going to probably accompany Punk to ring, but that doesn't mean that he doesn't have to kind of be with Roman, right? Very similar to what he did with Brock a little bit at like 2022-ish. So my thinking is, let's talk a scenario, all 3 guys. You know, there could be a scenario where Heyman is with Seth at the end of all of this, right? There, I would not rule that out whatsoever. Like, and that's kind of with Paul. That's why he's laughing at Paul in the corner, because he knows that he's got him. And then they have their own little plan, their own little pivot, and their own little whatever coming out of this, right? So, all right, Heyman, let's start with Punk. All right, so let's talk this through, Mike. Punk, he accompanies Punk to the ring, and Roman becomes jaded and stays jaded the whole match, and his jadedness kind of takes him out of focus and takes him storyline out of the match, pretty much gives him an alibi to lose, and Seth's really in this to be the fall guy, and Punk prevails. He headlines WrestleMania, and he wins WrestleMania. We'll talk about if they're going to add stakes or not anyways. So that's all I can see it. It's pretty much black and white. Heyman is with Punk, and he sticks with Punk, and it distracts Roman, and Seth cannot capitalize. Punk capitalizes because he's on his game, because he has his best friend in his corner. He's uber confident because he has his best friend in his corner. He's uber confident because his main focus is winning this match, because presumable stakes that we'll talk about afterwards as well. So that's how I look with CM Punk winning this match and Paul Heyman having a factor. Anything to add with that?
I mean, does Heyman like mistakenly cost Reigns while he was trying to maybe do something to help Punk that, you know, against Rollins? That's a way to go. I almost feel like that's definitely one route. There's another route you can go off of it. Ultimately, you know, Punk feels comfortable because Heyman's in his corner. So then, you know, he obviously sides with Roman instead, and that's where Punk becomes the lonely babyface again. So you could swing. Heyman's like one of those dolls like that had the stretch arms, like a Stretch Armstrong. He's getting pulled back and forth between both guys. But Rollins might be the one, you know, if there is a hidden story there, he might be the one that pulls away, because hey, these guys are both kind of treating you like shit, Paul, help me. There's a
Yeah.
story there for sure. So yeah, I mean, it's muddy either any way you do it, right?
All right, let's talk Roman and with Seth. So he's with Roman. We talk about CM Punk's confidence that Heyman would bring him. Now Roman Reigns could take advantage of that, right? Him and Paul could be in cahoots the whole time, saying, "Roman, you have not been a champion for a year. We needed you to get you back on top at WrestleMania. 2025 is going to be the year Roman Reigns. You had an obstacle of CM Punk in your way at WrestleMania and an obstacle of Seth Rollins in your way at WrestleMania. But we outplayed them because we played this card before when we did it to Brock, right? So we used my friendship. We sacrificed Paul Heyman's friendship with Brock first. Now we sacrificed it with CM Punk to give you an advantage, Roman, because you are my tribal chief. You're my one and only. And we played them like a fiddle. And then Roman Reigns prevails, and he's kind of back to being that heel because that is a heelish move if him and Paul were to go to do that, right? And it gives Punk an out at WrestleMania because he would, and then he makes it personal with Paul again, and then CM Punk is a solo babyface. Paul and Roman tend to be heelish, and then Seth Rollins is in here to take a fall, or he's kind of in here to continue his feud with both guys. What do you think of that with Paul and Roman, and with anything you'd like to add as well?
Paul and Roman being the heel winner, heelish feeling winner, is kind of the route that I'm leaning.
Okay.
And let me explain why. He doesn't have to come off as like he fully cheated to win. It was just Heyman kind of helped him win one way or the other. It's not like he's gonna give Punk a concerto or do something dastardly to him. Just does enough to win kind of by nefarious means, right? With Heyman being contributing factor of that. If then Roman comes back out Sunday night and is somebody that helps Cody retain the title over Cena because of that mix up with The Rock and all of that fun stuff, it doesn't really matter what Reigns did on Saturday to feel heelish, because what he does on Sunday to help Cody against evil Dwayne and evil Cena to set up whatever they do with Rock and Roman eventually down the road, then he's the ultimate babyface again anyways. So I think that there's ways to do it that, no matter how it ends on Saturday and how you feel about all three of these guys, with Roman especially, that whatever you feel about him changes with how Sunday night ends as well.
Yep. All right. Okay. I can see that. All right. And then we have Seth Rollins with Paul Heyman at the end of this, right? This company is desperately needing of top heels, but they are in need of depth of heels too as well. So not only would I align Paul Heyman with Seth Rollins in a heelish way, away from CM Punk and away from Roman Reigns, but I would bring back a dangerous alliance type of group. Like get young heels around Seth, get young heels around Paul, and then really bolster that heel division on the Raw side or the SmackDown side, most likely the Raw side, and bolster up like an Austin Theory, like a, I don't know, we'll workshop it out later, right? Paul Heyman guys potentially, and have a group of 4 and really hammer down that heel side of Raw because it's needed. It's missing. Look what Judgment Day did for week to week Raw every week. They were in tag matches, they were in 6-mans, they were in singles, they were the tag champs. They carried 2023, 2024 Monday Night Raw. And look at that before the Bloodline, 2022, 2021, 2023, they carried the SmackDown side from a week to week television wise with 6-mans, tag team, so on and so forth. That is missing nowadays from a heel main roster week to week faction. And I feel that if they were to do Seth as the leader, the figurehead, it could be a whole new direction, and even call it the Dangerous Alliance, right? I think that's a cute idea. And because Paul is dangerous, he betrayed his 2 best friends, right? Roman and Punk, to go with Seth and kick off this new pivot of this era, right? So that's what I would do. I don't think Seth's strong enough to be with Paul Heyman alone. I think they would need to isolate him with other guys.
Yeah, I mean, that's where a Drew could come into play,
Yeah.
as the muscle to that. That I think you're dead on with that. I think if they do any sort of Rollins turn, it'll be more than just Heyman. It might even be the revealing of a third member of their little grouping, at least for now,
Like
to help.
Rusev could be that muscle. Like,
right. Yeah, there's a hundred different people you can put there, right? So Obafemi, something, whatever.
Yeah.
There's 100 people you can put in that spot. So that's definitely a fun way to go. And that would be a good cliffhanger Saturday into Sunday, but how? You know what I mean? Like how would that happening to close the show Saturday bleed us into Sunday? Maybe it doesn't have to, but even if you look back at the last two Manias, obviously last year was an anomaly. The Saturday main event was gonna automatically bleed into Sunday. But even the year before, with the Usos getting taken down, it felt like the bloodline was getting taken down. So then you went into Sunday like, well, now we're gonna crown Cody, and that's gonna be the end of the bloodline. And then the swerve came, and Roman retained. So that's the only thing about the turn here, and why I kind of lean towards the Roman side is because it would be something that bleeds into Sunday, where none of the other scenarios, I guess Punk kind of could if you had him save Cody, but that doesn't feel as much like as likely as, Roman doing so. So that's where I like the idea a lot, but I don't know how you end a Saturday show with that without, then it's just like, all right, what happened Saturday's done. Now we're all clear ahead to Sunday,
Yeah, and I'm not sure if they want to play repeat again with that whole scenario of bloodline rules type of like not actual bloodline rules, but like where the run-ins and all that stuff. I don't know. They did it at SummerSlam. They did it at Netflix. I don't know if I have a feeling they may leave it alone, and it may. I don't know, but you could be onto something for sure.
I'm not even feeling like this major like ton of run-ins, but you have Travis Scott involved for a reason. You've got The Rock involved. You've got to at least have two people that negate them.
No doubt, no doubt. All right, so we've talked about stakes getting added to this for a while. I feel like it's warranted, honestly, and is enough to be a number one contender for Backlash or a number one contender for, I don't know, even SummerSlam, because rumor they're not doing King of the Ring or whatever pay-per-view down the road. Is there, or call your shot, whatever. Is there enough there to do? Is that enough? Or should there be more? Is Paul Heyman accompanying CM Punk enough? I don't know. What do you think?
Right. Like if this was the Vince McMahon era, then they would not only make this for a title match, but they would announce it like the Friday before the pay-per-view, right? Because it just would be, when it would just be a graphic would pop up and we'd be like, oh, when the hell did that happen? I feel like we would know it by now if there was a stip in like the Triple H era, because it's not like you have to sell pay-per-views, right? Like the whole thing is kind of being built around, your two main events. I don't think that it matters that there is a stake at this point to get viewers. But that's really
wise,
if there was a stake, there would have to be a title match because all three of these guys have very clear, convincing reasons to want a title match,
Yeah, I feel like it should. All right. Now you skated around saying that there's going to be potentially stuff for the Cena and Cody match. Mix in the stakes that we talked about. Is there any way that Roman, Punk, or Seth would have another match at WrestleMania 41? I don't think so, but with the rumors, there's no rumors. It's all hearsay. It's all bullshit. But I just think it's worthy enough to kind of discuss and say, what do you think?
If they really have an idea to have like this really epic main event on Sunday, it probably doesn't happen with a John Cena singles match.
Yeah.
Right? Without a lot of gaga. I mean, the guys had a Rumble match and the guys had a chamber match. He looked good in the chamber for the most part, but it's a chamber, right? It's a way different level of match than just one-on-one for 20 minutes, right? So if they went that route, it would be probably because they felt like they need this epic conclusion to WrestleMania where they might not trust that Cena's going to be able to do that from a match perspective. I personally think it'll be fine, but just thinking like why they would do it. but I feel like it's just the Cena Cody stuff is being built so personal with how they've built to the match. I can't see them adding somebody in. But that's kind of the favor. I kind of was thinking might have been more tied to something like that. You know what I mean? Not that Heyman is like the booker of WWE, but when you're thinking about how to use a favor, so many wild things cross through your heads as a fan. So it was something that crossed my mind, but I don't think that ultimately it happens.
I like the favor being this more than that because, like you said, why does Paul Heyman determine who gets title matches? Right? That would have been just kind of like weird and clunky. I'm glad that they're kind of doing it this way in a way as well. I think they should, and I think they will. I don't think that either one of these guys will be added to a match. Perhaps you will get like a WrestleMania 13 scenario where Sean is like doing commentary. Maybe someone's doing commentary, or you got the side view from the camera or something. Someone's like lurking, or the threat of lurking. Karrion Kross at Clash of the Castle watching from the stands or something weird like that, as I call like all these random references out of my ass, right? I feel like it does need stakes, and I'm glad Paul Heyman didn't introduce the stakes. I like the favor being that it's a little bit of a letdown, but I kind of always felt that it was going to be a little bit of a corny favor.
It adds meat to the match,
Yeah,
and especially the Roman Punk side, which other than it being kind of a dream match, needed a little bit of teeth to it,
Well, with those new teeth, I wish they would just bite it out of them too. And this card needs depth. Like honestly, like you could have done Breaker and Rollins, and then you could have done. It would have made much more sense. Like whatever, it is what it is.
The problem is you've got 6 hours of TV, so you've got 5.5, right? Yeah. So you've got a lot of people you're investing into that you want to get on the show. So if they did a ton of singles matches without expanding it to like, what Triple H hates, which is like 10 matches each night, they kind of had to do what they're going to do and are already planned, where there's just a couple multi-man matches to get people on the show, which who suffers from that? The singles match, the singles champs. It doesn't look like it looks like it's going to be
like WrestleMania.
It looks like it's going to be like Jacob and LA Knight for the US, but that Raw one's definitely going to be multi-man. So it's disappointing for sure, because you think like grandeur of what type of dream matches you could have, but at the end of the day, I understand it. But it is like, even this match, like this could be turned into two different matches by just adding one other person into it and doing two singles, right? You have more depth with that. But I guess they were just looking at the bright lights of having these three guys on this poster. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Who's winning?
I think it's going to be Roman, because I'm going to stick to that being the mindset that I have, that Roman ends up back with Heyman. It's just Punk is whatever. It is what it is. Like, I lost my buddy now. And he goes on to do whatever he does, whether that's, a feud with Gunther on Raw or whatever they end up going. And then Rollins is going to Rollins, right? Whatever they want to do with him moving forward. He's kind of a chameleon. But I think then you've got Reigns with his eyes on something, whether it's a title match or hell, his eyes could be 3 months off until SummerSlam,
I'm going Punk. Same sentiment, but I just feel that I think he's up next, really, and I think that they protect the shit out of him. Really, look at him in the Chamber. Look at him in the Rumble. Look at him in War Games. Look at him on that Monday Night Raw Netflix, kicking out of all those finishes. Right, he's protected, and I think he's protected. And he's to kind of explode here at WrestleMania. And I think he's looking to explode at WrestleMania because I think he has like a big SummerSlam match. And I think that SummerSlam match is going to kind of carry him into the fall leading into next year's WrestleMania. I think he's in the Cody's position next year. And I think he's going to really go on a CM Punk run here. And it all is going to kind of blow over here. Now, you picking Roman, me picking Punk, that means Seth's winning.
Right. Like this is the one scenario that he looks like the fall guy, so he's going to win, right?
Yeah, and honestly, I can see Roman Reigns sign that big deal in Dallas 3 years ago. Who knows how many dates are left on there? They probably used a lot of bloodline dates, front pack that. So him winning, I don't know if he has that many dates to make it worthy, right? They might want to stretch out his contract. Punk, same thing. Who knows how many dates he got? Rollins, he got all the dates. He's full time. So I could see them wanting to invest in him as well, right? And there's a reason why he's in this match too, right? He's around the most. But I'm picking Punk. gun to the head Punk, gun to the head Roman, and we'll see.
Yeah, I mean the Reigns thing is he's like constantly on the periphery of The Rock, right? And like even Cody was on PMT, and he's like, well, there's two matches that The Rock's got to have. He's got to have it with me, and he's got to have it with Roman. So it's I understand it all. I just feel like it's one of those Rock things. I just can't get that out of my head.
No doubt. All right, Mike, it was great, guys. If you haven't yet, check out Shooting Sharp with Mike. He does a great job over there each Tuesday morning, kind of give you a rundown of what's going on in the world of wrestling for the week. And that Drew Codera from Beyond Wrestling interview is timely but evergreen. So check that one out. Of course, Mike, you having fun? 3 to 4 episodes in so far. You having fun with the show?
Yeah. I'm looking forward to Mania because I'm going to do one app that's going to be just kind of like I've done in the past on No So, but like kind of a preview of everything that's going on Mania week. That's not just WWE, like all the indie shows and whatnot. There's not as much that I'm going to sink my teeth into as like some of the prior years. So I'll still be able to like kind of do like some of the weekly stuff, but I will have, my own Mania preview like tied into that as well. So I'm looking forward to doing that. It's crazy. We have that extra longer stretch to wait for Mania this year, but it's right around the corner now.
Yeah, no doubt. All right, Mike, thanks for jumping in here and kicking off WrestleMania season previews. And check out Shooting Sharp, guys. And Mike, see you on the next one, buddy.
Later.